Welcome to another evening with Golden Speakers, Toastmasters of Fairfield, Iowa. I'm Sergeant of Arms this evening. Please join me in warmly welcoming our club president, Rhonda Whitaker.
Yo!
Thank you, Cindy. Cindy is our wonderful Sergeant at Arms. We have many valuable role players here tonight. I'm very excited to have some of our new members actually taking a role for the first time. They will be introduced later. My portion of the meeting is where I tell you what the mission is for the club. Why are we here? What are we doing? Why did you come to this club? The mission of a Toastmasters club is the same from club to club. We create a positive and safe environment where our members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, which results in self-confidence and personal growth.
Yay!
We have our cameraman in the center aisle, and we do ask that people come out to the side and come up the side aisles when they come to the front. That way, we don't block the camera with our back. Next week, we will have our contest for Area 92. Scott Terry is our chairman. Unfortunately, Scott couldn't be here tonight. We can manage without him. We do know who is going to be present next week. We will have 2 other clubs that are attending and several contestants to compete with. With that bit of news, I'm going, Cindy?
I hope everyone has thought of some delicious snacks they would like to share with everybody next week, Tuesday.
Oh, Cindy's in charge of refreshments.
I'll send out an email reminding people and would like to heir what you've decided to bring. That would see what kind of variety we can cook up.
Ha!
Thank you for that reminder, Cindy. Non-alcoholic drinks are welcome.
Ha!
Now, we're going to move on to the major portion of our evening. I would like to introduce our Toastmaster. Our chosen Toastmaster of the evening is Mr. Louis Denbaum.
Yeah, Louis.
Good evening, club members. Do we have any guests tonight? Yes, one guest. Very good. And viewers at home. My job as the Toastmaster is to keep the meeting moving along, keep to our schedule, and to also introduce our role players. But first, would you like to say why you come here tonight? You might want to get out of the meeting.
Do you want me to come?
No, let's stand right there. That's good.
My name is Nadia. I'm from Russia. I'm here to... I heard a lot about Toastmasters, that it's a good opportunity to improve your communication skills. And I'm a student at community college, Indian Free Community College. I took a public speaking class, so I like it. And I realized how public ability to speak in a public is very crucial.
Yes.
And because of the English is my second language, and I have some language barrier, and I want to improve my English, and I want to work on I want to master my English and master my public skills, communication skills.
You've come to the right place. Our meetings generally have a theme. I'm not sure who picks these out, but tonight's theme is lost. And we have a quote from Mark Twain: "Of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most." Sometimes when you lose something, it's not a bad thing. Like a couple of months ago, I lost 10 pounds. But I found it. It came back. Those are the things that you don't want, when you lose them, Then, of course, when I was 18, there was something, got into my first relationship, and I lost something that I don't want to come back either. And I'll let you guess about what that was. So tonight, we'll talk about how the censor just censored me. Jean Simonton Craig, she plays the role of the censor for our meetings.
By request.
By request, absolutely. So first role tonight, of many, is our timer. Nelson, explain your job.
Hello.
So I am the timer for today, and for the table topics, we will have a green light to indicate 1 minute, a yellow light, oh, it's not on, there we go. Green light for 1 minute, a yellow light for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then a red light for 2 minutes, and after 30 seconds of the 2 minutes, then you will be disqualified. For the speeches, we have Karen Aoki, and she is, green light will be for 5 minutes.
Actually, I'm going to increase my time by 1 minute, so it'll be 6, 7, 8.
6,
6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, and 8. So, 6, 7, and 8. So that for 6 minutes, the green light will turn on, and then 7 minutes, the yellow light will turn on, and then 9 minutes, 8 minutes, the red light will turn on. Okay, and the next speaker is Craig, and he is for 9 minutes.
She.
Shay.
She.
Gene Simonton Craig.
James Simon Shay.
Yes.
Gene. Gene. Okay, so Gene. So green light will turn on for 9 minutes, and then 10 minutes and 30 seconds. The yellow light will turn on, and then the red light will turn on at 12 minutes. Okay, and then for the evaluators are evaluated based on 2 minutes for green light, and then 2 minutes and 30 seconds for the yellow light.
Nelson, you're going to
It's
have
not
to point
changing.
the remote at the light.
You got to point at the light.
For the yellow light, and then red light is 3 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, and all speakers and evaluators have 30 seconds grace period after the red light is turned on. Table topic speakers need to speak for at least 1 minute to qualify for votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson. Yeah. And Nelson will give us a report at the end of the evening. And next we have our grammarian, Art Atkinson. Are you our substitute grammarian? Oh, Will. Sorry, no. Okay, Will, come on up.
Change the sequence.
All right, let's do it.
Please explain your role. This is the grammarian.
Yeah, welcome. My name is Will Burns. I am the grammarian this evening, and my role is to look for any excellent uses of the English language, any abysmal uses, well, that's a very rare occurrence with this group, and also to state the word of the day. The word of the day today is errant. It means roving, especially in search of adventure. It also can mean straying from proper moral standards, or to rove. Again, roving aimlessly. You also can say arrogantly, as you pronounce it. I have to check myself on that one. And I think with this variety of topics, from straying from moral boundaries, from looking for adventure, you guys can find many uses, and I look forward to hearing them and noting them tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. By the way, as a Toastmaster, I'm going to take the liberty of express something. Last week, Jean had her pause pet peeve. Will, give me credit for an alliteration there, pause pet peeve. I have a word of the night pet peeve, and that is that people sometimes just throw it out there because they want to use the word, right? And they don't always use it correctly. So I'm hoping that will actually penalize people for using it incorrectly. You know those exams where if you answer the question wrong, you actually lose a point rather than staying even? So let's use the word correctly or not use it. That's my request, my pet peeve. Now our R counter, Art Atkinson. Please explain your role.
My job tonight is to look for errant sounds. Ha! Those are sounds that we make in between words that don't actually convey any new information, but they are usually the result of anxiety about leaving silence. And sometimes the word so. We're already off and running. I'm measuring everybody, and I'll give a short report at the end of the meeting.
Thanks, Laura. We have other role players. Monty's our general evaluator, and he'll come up later in the evening to run the evaluation part of our meeting. And Will Burns is also going to come up and do a joke as our joke master at the end of the evening. And Rhonda Whitaker is our ballot collector and counter. So now I'd like to turn the meeting over to our table topics master, Jeff Shipley.
Yo!
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, everyone, I'll be directing table topics this evening. Table topics, as I hope you know by now, is the appetizer for this meeting. It's your chance to come up here and speak off the cuff, extemporaneously, impromptu, on 5 prompts that I have created. So the theme tonight is Lost, and so the questions I'll be asking are relating to Lost. It's table topics, so I imagine we're having a cup of tea or something over a table at my place, and we're just having a nice friendly chat. Of course, anyone who comes up is free to pivot and answer a different question, or pretty much respond however they would like. So anyone who wants to come up and experience table topics, raise your hand, indicate something to me so I can call on you. Cindy. Go! Thank you, Cindy. 1 through 5. 1. Have you ever felt lost in life, unsure of which direction to take? What did you do to find yourself? Ah!
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and honored and esteemed guests and viewers at home. I'm laying in my bed in my dorm room. I've just finished my final exams on my last semester in college. Up until that point, I always knew what I was going to do. I was a student, I went to school, grade school, junior high, high school, college. But in another week, I was going to graduate. I knew my grades, I had passed. And I go, oh my gosh, this whole chapter, the whole thing that I have lived thus far, it's over. What am I going to do? You mean I gotta go out and work now? Or I could go back to school, but no, there was no choice in that part. So yeah, I was kind of lost. I had my major in science. I always liked animals. And I thought, well, why not? I'll just put out my resume at area animal hospitals near where I lived. I'll see what happens. Yeah, 4.5 years at an animal hospital. Surgical assistant, x-ray technician, lab technician. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. But back to laying in that bed after I knew I'd graduated, I felt kind of lost and kind of scary too. Mr. Table Topics Master.
All right, thank you very much, Cindy, for the very soulful talk. I want to remind that guests are welcome to participate as well. So I'm looking at a couple of guests. Anyone else like to participate? The other prompts are a little bit less. Yeah, I forget your name, but I got your hand first. Luis. Luis, that's right.
Yay, Luis.
All right. All right, I got 2 through 4, or else you could choose one, or 2 through 5, you could choose one again if you'd like. 2. Have you ever lost something, perhaps something that was dear to you? Go!
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. Today I'm going to talk to you about loss and the times in which we lose something can definitely be harsh times, because when we lose something, it's almost that we lose part of ourselves. And we feel as though it's this pain that's tearing us apart, because we just feel incomplete. I will talk to you today about when I lost the innocence of being a kid and rejoicing in simply being myself and not having to worry about a thing, simply being in this moment and not worrying about what I'm going to do when I grow up. Sure, I'll think about it, but I won't have this pressure upon me, and I wouldn't worry about the things that I did. It was simply this joyful sensation. But once I lost this simple state of innocence, it was as if this whole weight was over my shoulders, and I wasn't able anymore to enjoy the simple things in life that always allowed me to simply be and provide joy to other people that were around me. And this didn't allow my life to continue on to be what it used once to be. It's almost as if I woke up from a sweet dream. However, later on I realized that I could recover that which I had lost, and that which hadn't really left, but it was merely an illusion that I had lost it, but it was always with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luis, for sharing that with us. Gilberto, you indicated you want to come up here? We got 3, 4, 5.
5.
Have you ever just lost it?
Oh.
Have I ever lost it? Just lost it.
Just lost it.
I have, in fact. A few times. I tend to be very calm, my behavior anyway, but I have lost it a few times for sure. And I'm trying to think, one of the times that I lost it, and that I maybe regret having lost it, you know. So it was, I was maybe 17 or 18 years old, and I was with a friend, and my friend was kind of annoying, but he was my good friend, so I thought that I had to be strong with some things he was saying and give him my opinion. And I said it in such a way that I felt that I lost my temper with him. So I said things that I now regret. Finally concluded that I had to do it at the moment, but still I needed to do it in a different way. So then I was able to conciliate with my friend, and we're very good friends now. And after I lost that moment, so yep, that's it.
Do we have time for one more?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Harper. Steven, excuse me. Okay, so I have 3 and 4 left, but admittedly they're weaker of the 5 prompts. So you're free to choose through 1 through 5, or you can choose 3 or 4.
Why don't I just talk about being lost?
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters, distinguished guests, and viewers at home. Mark Twain's message that the best thing he ever lost was his mind is very prophetic. Because what does it mean to lose one's mind? It means to lose our boundaries. It means to lose our inhibitions. It means to become free. Freedom, what we've all grown up being taught is the highest virtue in America. But real freedom. Because when you lose your self-consciousness, then you can let go. Then you can really enjoy. Then you can really live. This is actually what I think that Jesus Christ meant when he said, "He who loses his life for me shall gain life everlasting." Meaning that beyond the limits of the mind, there is timelessness. There is the unified field, infinite in time, immortal. So we're freed the instant we go into spirit. In instant we transcend the mind and go into what's been called nothingness by the Buddhists and the people in the East and the Taoists. So it's incredibly profound. The best thing we can lose is our mind. It's actually our thoughts, depending on how you think of mind. A lot of people think of mind as being their thoughts. But mind, in the Greek philosophical tradition, was really an infinite, unbounded, omnipresent field of consciousness. And to lose the limitation of individuality and to go into that, which is so freeing, it feels so wonderful, it just makes you want to jump up and down and dance and sing. Seth, doesn't it make you want to jump up and down and dance and sing? Come on!
Yeah.
Come on! You know what I'm talking about.
Be saved, brother. Brother, be saved.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you very, very much for your attention. Now that I've got it. And I hope you lose your minds.
Yes. All right. Well, the wonderful energy and table topics on. I hope you guys enjoyed this appetizer portion of our meeting, and I'll turn it over to the.
We have time for one.
One more. Yeah.
How's you gonna top that though?
Okay, we need to-
All right, here we go.
There you go. One more.
You can talk about whatever you like, or you can choose a prop for me, or prompt 1 through 5.
what kind of topics?
Pardon?
What kind of topics?
Well, it's about lost.
What was?
Pick one.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
5? All right, it's the same one as Gilberto talked about. Have you ever just lost it, lost your cool in some manner, and let your temper go wild or something like that?
Okay. I just observed that humans need a goal to do something or reason why I'm doing this, why I'm in this place, and if I'm here or if I'm working for this job and what kind of benefits I'll get from this job. And I remember the first time when I came to here in America with my husband. We struggled to assimilate, to adapt in this country. We studied this English. And the time when then we moved from Washington D.C., we moved here in Fairfield. He was a student and he got a job at a local company, and everything was fine everything was stable in our life. And I lost myself. I realized that I need a reason, I need a goal to live. Why I'm here, okay, and what I want to say that our goal in our life makes us organized, makes us disciplined, that we don't not to event regrets in our life, to be happy, and after a new year when you make resolutions, not to feel down, to be happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all our participants. We really enjoyed everything you had to share with us, and now I'll turn it over to our table topics.
How much time you got?
Oh, timer. Did everyone qualify?
Is there a minimum?
1 minute. 1 minute.
Everyone qualified.
All right. And you can read the names again?
Cindy, Luis, Roberto, Stephen, and what's your name? Naja.
All right, so take a second to vote for who we thought the best table topics was, and then I'll turn it over to our table topics. All right, welcome back. Now I'd like to bring up our table topics evaluator, Jyoti Raj Adhikari, for his evaluation.
Fellow Toastmasters guests and viewers at home, all the 3 speeches were fabulous. There are 5 speeches, so I can't go one by one, so I'll take it at once and summarize it. All the speakers, they greeted. That's the first thing you should do. They all greeted the audience and shook hands. That's the first thing. Only I recommend Naria to greet the audience, because you are speaking to the audience, so you should greet the audience so that you can get the attention of the audience. The second thing is, everybody had a good gestures, especially our Stephen. He had good hand gestures, body movements, use of space. I recommend Cindy and Louis to use a little bit of space, because you were kind of you had good hand gestures, body movements, but you are standing here in front of you, and Roberto, most of the time I saw you keeping your hand on your belly, so that you are not nervous, but that symbolizes the nervousness. When you have the same gestures for like 2-3 minutes, that looks like you are not open. So I recommend you to be open. I mean, just be open. And Stephen, you are very confident, and that's how I like your confidence, how you came from and spoke. That could be the example for all of us who spoke today. The only thing today I want to recommend everybody is, all of them is, most of the speakers were gazing on the ceiling, on the floor. So I want the speaker to face the audience at once to a group, and then speak to a group, and go to another group, and speak to that group. It is not necessary to go one by one, but if you can focus on the middle somewhere, so everybody will think that you are focusing the guy or the girl. I mean, you can focus in the middle. Nobody knows that where you are focusing. I'm focusing in the middle. I'm not looking at anybody. So I'll focus this way, so all of you will think that I'm focusing on you. That's a very good technique, that you can connect yourself with the audience and use the space. It's not necessary to move here and there. That will distract the audience, but you just move to make your point straight. I mean, keep your point there. So everybody did a very good job. Give it up. Thank you.
Thank you to our table topics master, Jeff and Jyoti, for evaluating, for all of you who participated. Now it's time for the heart and soul of our Toastmasters meeting, the prepared speeches. And we have 2 tonight. And the first one, I would like to invite Seth Braun to introduce Karen Aoki.
Karen's going to be doing Competent Communicator Manual number 8. This is your final, second to last project to complete all 10 projects in the Competent Communicator Manual. Project number 8's objectives include selecting visual aids that are appropriate for your message and for the audience, using visual aids correctly. It's a 6 to 8 minute talk. Karen Aoki grew up in a Protestant missionary culture in Tokyo, Japan. She came to the United States when she was 16 and has lived in various communities in the U.S. She now lives in Fairfield, Iowa. where she is a seeker errant, positively exploring the world through her travels, but also through her PhD program at Maharishi University of Management. This talk is part of a series of talks focusing on building bridges across cultural divides. Whether that be in the area of race, religion, lifestyle, or otherwise, tonight's talk will focus on Karen's own process, recognizing cultural differences. Adapting to new cultures and the tools that she's drawn upon to integrate successfully in her current host culture of Fairfield, Iowa. She will draw from her mother's area of research in the areas of cross-cultural communication to create a theoretical framework for her talk. This presentation is intended to inspire increased harmony and understanding in the area of relationships for the overall purpose of celebrating the richness of life. Please warmly welcome Karen Aoki.
The wholeness of my talk tonight is the art of behavior. The subtopic is relationships, crossing the cultural divide. I'll draw mostly upon my personal experience, my process of crossing cultural boundaries, but I will also refer to my mother's work in the area of cross-cultural communication. We call these Karen's tricks for survival. Spent 10 years in this culture, the US culture. I'm going to share with you 3 things that have really helped. I'm going to not only talk about these points, but I hope to demonstrate successfully cultural integration. The culture I represent here, that is represented here, is Toastmasters, but specifically Toastmasters of Fairfield, Iowa. What we start with is a greeting. You would not believe how much goes into a greeting, and it's very culture specific. This is a Japanese greeting. Good evening. A US greeting, as I have observed in Fairfield, Iowa, is good evening, golden speakers, honored guests, viewers at home. What I have to do here is cross cultural boundaries, cross comfort zones, to use eye contact, to open my body language wide, and to speak up. 3 things that have taken me 10 years to, I wouldn't say I was comfortable with it, but at least I am adopting this language. So, Karen's tricks for survival, crossing cultural boundaries. I put spiritual practice first, although it came last in my life, just because it has ended up being the primary means by which I could just have the courage to educate myself and to step out of cultural comfort zones. I call it spiritual practice just to try to be as culturally sensitive as possible. I just mean a wide variety of techniques, religious, spiritual, meditative, self-development. So develop a spiritual practice to experience a genuine connection and intimacy with everyone you meet. Personally, until I felt and experienced intimacy, I didn't really have the courage or the desire to really step out and to meet you and to get to know your culture. So for me, I really needed that spiritual basis to develop that confidence. The second thing is there are universal languages, maybe not necessarily words, but things that we can do that cross cultural divides and go directly from heart to heart. I call this a universal language, and I can think of art or music because that's what I'm familiar with, but smiles are universal. Maybe giving a flower is a universal sign. I think that pretty much anywhere you go in the world, you can give a flower and it's going to have the same resonance. Examples of behavior that might not work everywhere is a thumbs up, clapping. Direct eye contact is not always a positive thing, so you really need to know what is a universal language and what is very culture specific. Which leads to the third point. You also need to develop cross-cultural communication skills, and you need to actually study. It's not enough to feel that connection. You actually have to do your research, and you have to study your host culture
get to know what people are comfortable with, I have to do things now that still elicit a response from me of terror, like look at people or open my arms and talk. This I learned in Toastmasters. That's why I put Toastmasters under this category. Toastmasters is an educational experience. And you will observe different sorts of behavior here, mostly representing the host culture of the US. But Fairfield is cool because it's international, so you're going to pick up on a lot of different cues reflecting flavors of many cultures. Spiritual practice. I started meditating about 10 years ago. I used transcendental meditation. Until I experienced the settling of my own mind, I had no idea what it meant to be connected with another person. That was more like a anecdotal, nice, emotional idea, but it wasn't an experience. But when I meditate, and I experience the essence of who I am, I experience the essence of all we are. So on a genuine level of connection, I started to move outside of restrictive behavior and ideas. I draw primarily from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who's been very inspirational in my self-development and in my spiritual practice. This quote comes from Science of Being, Art of Living. I'm going to use this to bridge the gap between that first trick, spiritual practice, and the second, which is that universal language, because he talks about art of behavior. This is in the chapter 6, Art of Behavior. The fundamental rule of behavior should be to give. When you go to meet someone, think of what you can give him. A concrete gift, such as a beautiful object, words of greeting, warm sympathy, praise, adoration. I love your sweater. Love, elevating advice, or good news for body, mind, or soul, or whatever you're capable of giving. Merely a hello or a how do you do is insufficient to produce a wave of love and joyfulness at the meeting. The art of behavior demands that the first moment of a meeting should have something of real value for the meeting of two hearts. So I'm going to give you something of value using my universal language of music. I'm a concert flutist, so I spent many years developing this form of communication. I was actually very inhibited in terms of speech, and I made a decision at 14 to stop talking because I saw, actually, I was quite confused about the mode of speech. I saw a lot of destructive behavior, and it was often used in my culture to tell you how to think and who to believe and how to believe. So my solution in my 14-year-old mind was just to stop talking. And I have a strong will. But my flute was my saving grace. I poured all that I wanted to say into my music, and for many years, for 20 years, I developed this mode of communication. And with that, I'll play just a snippet since I'm on a timeline. So let's see here. I learned actually when I was 14. Whether you can read music, whether you've heard this piece or not before, I think it doesn't really require a background in it. I think you've got my heart, and I hope that you could receive it. So this is a universal language. I thought I could get by with this for the rest of my life.
great. I can just play. But in my early 20s, I really got to this wall, you could say. It wasn't enough. In fact, the things that I need to say needed to be spoken out in words and through direct communication. And music was beautiful and it helped me to a certain point, but then I needed to start learning communication skills. There's no way around it. So I refer to my mother's work at this point, something intellectual. Stages of intercultural sensitivity. At this point, I needed to figure out what was going on, so she gave me a vocabulary for discussing and talking about this gap that I was feeling. So if you Google 6 stages of cultural sensitivity, you'll find that each stage outlines a different cognitive process. Starting with denial, where you don't even recognize cultural differences, and ending with integration, where you not only recognize cultural differences, but you adapt smoothly between different cultural paradigms. Okay, so this is what Toastmasters gave to me. It started me on this track of just getting up there and sharing and doing it again and again, you know? And it started out with, I really don't want to do this, to, I actually look forward to coming here and seeing what comes out of my mouth. Sometimes it surprises me. Okay, so now, these questions refer to where you are on the cultural paradigm scale. Which stage are you in? Are you in different places with different groups? Okay.
Thank you very much, Karen, who plays the flute beautifully and speaks beautifully. It's a good thing my wife isn't here. She'd tell me to stop talking and take up the flute. So, let's take 2 minutes to evaluate Karen.
Welcome back. So we voted for Best Evaluator. Now it comes to the general evaluation of the meeting. I'm going to start with diving right in.
You got role players to do.
Role players. Pardon me. So reports.
Yeah.
We're going to give the reports now from the meeting. First from our timer, Nelson. The timer report.
For table topics, Cindy qualified with 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Luis qualified for 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Roberto qualified for 1 minute and 17 seconds. Steven qualified for 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And Nija qualified for 1 minute and 39 seconds. That's for table topics. For speeches, Karen Aoki did not qualify. She had 10 minutes and 55 seconds. And Jane qualified for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. For table topic evaluator, Jyoti qualified with 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Speech evaluators qualified, Seth Ram with 3 minutes and 14 seconds. And Tom Trainer qualified with 3 minutes and 27 seconds.
Thank you, Nelson. Next up, our grammarian report by Will Burns.
Yo!
Yeah, Will.
Thank you, Monty. Okay, grammarian reports. Art and Seth both used the word of the day. Decided to go with errant seeker, probably pretty good. Okay, the beautiful language, moving language I heard from Luis. When we lose something, we lose part of ourselves. Thank you. Stephen, what does it mean to lose our mind, but to lose our boundaries? Nadia said everything was stable in our life, and I lost myself. Thank you very much. Karen, I liked how you hooked us in there with Karen's tricks for survival. Made this a life or death kind of. And finally, Monty, the watcher who watches the watchers.
Next up will be our counter report by Art.
Cindy was clean, Rhonda clean, Lewis had 1 and. Nelson got off to a running start with an several ums and an and. Will was clean. Nadia, this is not, English is probably a second or third language for you.
Second. It's not good.
Many ahs, 7 or 8, maybe 10, 3 ums, and a false start here and there. That would be where I would suggest you work. Jeff, an an Luis, several ands, Luis. This is one of your favorite words. Gilberto, many ahs and an a couple of so's. Steve, clean. Karen, I just was completely lost in the talk and I didn't catch anything.
Snowing.
Jyoti, 3 ands and a false start. Jean, an and an and. I didn't catch it. That's my report.
Yo!
And we'll be hearing from our joke master at the end of the meeting. So now it's the general evaluator's turn, and that's me. So we had 3 evaluators, and I'll start with our first one. Jyoti had table topics. He had the table topics evaluator. Now today, because we were short of speech, we had extra table topics. We had 5. Usually we average like around 3. So Jyoti had his work cut out for him in order for him to give feedback to every single one. What I liked what he did was he did sort of a group feedback. He went point by point. He laid out an outline, and the group feedback he gave was focus on the front. He noticed that there was many people that weren't doing eye contact, or they weren't focusing where they should be focusing, which is the audience, which is you. So he gave a really good, without calling anyone out in particular, he gave a really good feedback for the whole group. I like that because he had limited on time. He grouped them together, and he was able to get that out. My only feedback for you, Jyoti, you would start back here, and I understand that you have your notes, and so you always have to keep coming back. And Toastmaster teaches you it's good to move around, so it's good for you to leave the podium, which you did try to do. You would sort of come halfway up and sort of talk a little bit before leaning back and then going halfway up again. I say, if you can, come out more confidently. Otherwise, I think you did a good job. Next up, we had Seth Braun, who evaluated Karen Aoki. You opened up really well. You addressed the audience. You also did a personal open, where you sort of interacted a little bit with Karen, where you gave an example of some personal relationship. That builds rapport, not just with the speaker, but also with the audience. You demonstrate that you have more of a personal connection, and that carries over to the rest of us. I liked how you, step-by-step evaluation, you used the manual. I liked how you brought out the term a non-visual visual aid, and it did make sense. You evaluated the different visual aids, which was part of the project, part of the points. You also, I liked how you elicited feedback from the audience. During your evaluation, you would say, you would give a point of feedback, and then you would wait for the audience to agree with you. So that reinforces your feedback for the whole audience and also for Karen. And at the very end, when you needed to give some constructive feedback, you tied it back to your own personal experience. So once again, you personalized it. It wasn't something generic. You embodied it, and then you put it back out to people. Once again, that reinforces the feedback. Speech number 2, or evaluator number 2, our own Tom Traynor. And Tom, veteran, Gene's also a veteran. So you have the veterans evaluating a veteran here. And you didn't hold back. Right away, first off the bat, Tom said he was going through the manual, and right away he was going strong into constructive feedback. And Gene, veterans have tough skin, so Gene can take it. And Tom knew this, so he wasn't holding back. I thought it was a great point-by-point evaluation. He enunciated the points as he went through them, and he gave a lot of strong, constructive feedback. You gave some great compliments, too. Positive feedback, but you also gave some very strong, very positive, constructive feedback about how to improve. And that's why we're here. We're here to learn. That's part of the mission, and I look forward to that myself. That's my evaluation for the evening. I'm going to turn it back over to our Toastmaster, who is that?
Joker. Lewis gets
Okay,
awards.
so
Take it to the joke.
as before we conclude,
I'll do it, Lewis.
okay, Will, come on up and give us a joke.
A joke! A joke!
Let's laugh.
Okay, well, I tried to take with our noted speaker, we have many here. The one we chose was with Mark Twain. The theme. Now, it's actually very hard to find quotes from him that I can do at Toastmasters. Ha! That won't offend somebody. So I tried to find these. Life would be infinitely happier if we could only be born at the age of 80 and gradually approach 18. Heaven goes by favor. If it went by merit, you would stay out and your dog would get in. Oh. Get your facts correct first, and then you can distort them as much as you like. And finally, let us endeavor so to live that we may come to die. Let us endeavor so to live in such a way that when we come to die, even the undertaker will be sorry.
All right, I think that's probably my favorite part of Toastmasters, the joke master. Leave us laughing. So tonight, we've covered everything that we wanted to. Our guests, would you like to say very short words? All right, thank you. And then she'll do the...
Yeah.
All right, so the moment we've all been waiting for. Who's got the info, the results?
Who's got the tickets?
Under the lecture.
Under the lecture.
Aha! Okay, the secret compartment here.
All else paid.
Okay, so for best table topic, Stephen Harper! Thank you. Incredible table topic. Okay. Best speaker tonight, no doubt, Steve Simonton Craig.
I want to make one clarification. I am not a distinguished Toastmaster.
Yeah.
Yet. So in the communication track, there's bronze, silver, gold. I'm working on my silver. On the leadership, though, there's bronze and silver. So tonight I have tapped out on the leadership track. So that's cool. But that's what's the explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just found out tonight that when Gene called to thank me for giving the talk that I was actually 0.5 on the HBL program. Okay, last but not least, our best evaluator, Tom Trainer.
For Karen.
Oh, for Karen. All right. Karen, we have something for you. Get comfortable with visual aids. Sheet number 8. Thank you for a wonderful job. Okay, great. So I would like to bring back our president, Rhonda Whitaker.
Go!
Mr. Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a moment now when we ask our guests who have come for the first time if they would like to offer a comment about something they appreciated in the meeting tonight. So I'd like to ask, is there any guest that would like to comment? Yes.
Doug. I'm a former member guest, but I did guest for this time. And I must say that Gene blew me away because in the past I thought the leadership part of Toastmasters was not really what I'm looking for. I was thinking the speaking. But Gene changed that totally. I see that how leadership can be more than just a good thing, it can be a lot of fun. So thank you, Gene, and I enjoyed the whole meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Another guest that would like to say anything before we go on?
Okay. I would like to say that I thought it would be easy, but I see at the retirement, seeing someone evaluate my speech, and so I see there are a lot of work to work. There are a lot of to work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nadia. Now, I'd like to ask our members tonight, who are used to us handing out a paper agenda every meeting, if the agenda on the screen was helpful to them. Was there anyone that noticed the agenda was on the screen? And the reason we're doing that is because it saves us 10 cents an agenda. And we are a nonprofit club. We have things we need to purchase. We need a standing easel. We need to reimburse for resource materials. So we're pinching pennies by using the latest technology on the screen. And is there anyone here who felt it was distracting from the speeches?
I just have one comment.
Jean.
So when Dan said this was happening, the thought I had, and I don't even know if it happened because I can't remember, but was maybe to have it up most of the time, but if like during the prepared speeches, maybe just put something in front of it or turn it off or something so it doesn't detract. But I wasn't sure I was going to like it, and I like it. I just think maybe to really make sure that the attention's on the speaker, it might during the speech maybe consider turning it off.
Excellent point, Jean. Thank you. Tom.
If anybody,
Dan says he did turn it off, so
yeah.
Okay, good.
If anybody's a role player, if you stand in front of the screen when it is lit, the camera goes crazy, and I really don't. You've got to move away from the screen in order for the camera to see you correctly. You can't. Art did at the end, stood, and the camera.
Did I stand in front of the screen?
Yeah, you were enough in front of the screen.
You were here, like
right there on the edge,
in the middle.
and it was like. And so the camera gets crazy without, it can't tell what it's supposed to do. So if you are going to use it, just come a little more to the center or stay in the back, either way. But don't get in the middle of that.
Yeah, I noticed when I was behind the sitting behind the camera that the screen is much lighter, so the camera averages the light that it's taking in, and so people's faces would get dark in contrast to the background, so you couldn't see people's facial features as well. And that's another reason to stay away from.
Yeah, a bit like a horror show. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. Good point. In reference, Art.
As your treasurer, I need to remind you, if there's any errant checks that haven't yet been given to me tonight, please don't get out of the room without doing it. We're getting pretty good cooperation. I sent out emails earlier today for people that, according to my records, hadn't yet paid dues. If you got one of those emails and you've already paid, my apologies. Got several more tonight, so we're doing pretty good, but we're not at 100% yet.
Okay. Thank you, Art. And it's important that we turn our dues in on time for the Toastmasters International report to count our members, the number that we have for the Distinguished Toastmaster program, for the Distinguished Club program, excuse me. Now I'd like to quickly remind people that the contest next week, we have a slightly different time. Our setup crew comes at 10 minutes of 7. Our role players come at 7 o'clock. Briefings start at 7:05. At 7:20, we finish up the briefings and we prepare to start the contest at 7:25. And if you are feeling generous, please bring a refreshment or a drink. We're going to have guests from out of town, and as a host to people who are our guests, we want to present them with a gift. Like Karen was saying, give them a gift for coming all the way. Some people are coming 2 hours to get here. That means 4-hour drive on an evening night. So we want to appreciate them by bringing food and drink for them. Are there any questions before we finish the evening?
I would just like to see the judges for a moment at the end of the meeting, please, before you leave. If you're a judge, please come see me.
Does everybody know who's the judge next week? You remember who volunteered last week?
He knows.
Okay, good, thank you. I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting now until next week for the contest.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Majority vote has it, dismissed, adjourned.
Hey.